Hello everyone, this is Maxwell McGee here at Blizzard HQ. Today, we're checking out Diablo 3, and to help me do that, I'm joined by Rob Pardo, executive producer on the game. Rob, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to have the press down checking out the game today.
All right, Rob, so I want to cut straight to the meat and potatoes, what we're here to talk about, which is the new auction house system in Diablo 3. Can you go ahead and set up how that's going to work for us and why your team felt it was important to include this new feature?
Sure. So, like Diablo as a franchise is, so predicated on kind of the item system. People just love getting the items within Diablo, and I think that's a lot of the fun of playing the game. And if you look historically at the franchise, it's kind of challenging to trade those items, even though once people have acquired the items, they want to trade them. There's such a great merchant economy with trying to get the right items and things like that. So I think it was really natural to put an auction house within the game. The big thing that I think is the thing we're talking about is not just the act of putting in an auction house, but allowing people to not only trade those items for gold, but also to trade for real money. And I think the reason we decided to do that was we know that it's going to happen anyways, and clearly there's a desire for players to have the ability to do that. You see this time and time again in other games, and oftentimes it's kind of pushed out into kind of these third-party sites that are shady. Why not instead embrace it and make it a fun part of the game itself, which is really what we want to do. And we feel like Diablo is uniquely kind of situated to make this a really fun system because it is a random item system, and there aren't any items that are like tagged to soulbound or something like in World of Warcraft. So I think it ends up being very conducive to what people want to be able to do in the game design, and it ends up being completely optional. The people that want to do this, they're able to, and the people that don't, they can enjoy the game without doing it.
Now, can you take us through step by step from acquiring an item to getting it sold at the auction house, how that's going to work?
Well, I think it's fairly simple, especially in the seller point of view, because as a seller, all you have to do is take that item, and I'll mention a couple other details. Like as an example, something that's an improvement over the previous Diablos is you have a shared stash, and what that means is that no matter which character you're logged into, you have access to your entire kind of bank of items. So that's like one really great convenience. So what you can do is you just log in as any of your characters, you take any item that you have in your inventory or in your stash, and you put it on the auction house. And then you have a decision of you can set the minimum bid price, you can set a buyout price, and again both these can be in either gold or in real world dollars, and then you just put it up there, and that's away you go at that point, and then you just wait for someone to either buy out the item or to bid up to the point where the item gets sold.
Now, this idea for having an auction house for items, was that something that was going to be a feature from day one, or was this perhaps a late addition to the game?
Somewhere in between. I mean, it wasn't something day one we thought of. It was definitely a feature kind of midway through development. And, it's at least partially influenced by our success in World of Warcraft with the auction house there. So, what we really were talking about early on is, we need to facilitate trading a lot better within the game. We really felt like that was something that, could really be improved greatly within the game. So we took a lot of the design and learnings from World of Warcraft to kind of do the basic system design. And then the idea for doing it with real money, happened a little bit after that, as we were just kind of thinking about, what are ways that make sense from a business model point of view. And I think something we've said, for years and years now, that the way that we do things like that, the way we talk about business models is not go what business model we want and then kind of graft the game around it. We do the opposite. We kind of come up with the game design, the game systems, and then we figure out, well, what makes sense? What would actually add to the game and make the game more fun? And that's really where the ultimate idea of making a real money auction house came from.
So if this real money auction house concept really takes off, do you think it could eventually grow to perhaps rival the subscription or free-to-play models seen in other MMOs as a form of income?
Absolutely. I don't see why there's any reason why it couldn't. I mean, it's very hard to predict right now because it is different. It's not one-to-one. There's no real exact example of someone else doing this. So I think it's kind of impossible to predict. I think it could be something that, is very, modestly successful, or it could be extraordinarily successful. And it really comes into us doing a good job with designing and seeing how many people really want to participate in the system.
Now, what is Blizzard's level of involvement going to be in the real money and gold auction houses? To what extent will you be policing perhaps a foul play in the auction house?
Well, we obviously have to keep a very careful eye on it. As far as making sure that the auction house is fair and secure, that's something that, we're going to be on 24/7. As far as, but we really want the economy to be player driven. That's not something we really want to mess with from a Blizzard point of view. We really want players to determine the worth of the items, determine what's going to be a popular item, what's not a popular item. That's not an area we really want to meddle in.
Say, for instance, I poured a lot of my own money into the auction house, and I go in and I buy up like all of the high-level like wands for the wizard, and then I redistribute them back into the market at an extremely inflated price. Would Blizzard then step in and perhaps intervene at this point?
Well, I think we're kind of talking about a mythical problem that, we'll have to see what happens if that exists, and I kind of question whether or not it would. I mean, you got to keep in mind, this is not a deterministic item system like, let's say, a World of Warcraft game. It is a randomized item system that's going to have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of different items. Also, because each auction house is kind of regional, there's going to be so many items and so many players participating in the same auction house. I really question whether or not any person would be able to do what you're talking about unless they, had quite the assets at the.
Unless I was just sitting on like $100,000 that I wasn't doing anything with.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, if there was a case like that and it seriously damaged the game and the people's gameplay experience, then we'd have to figure out the right answer.
Now, are you worried at all about incentivizing players to use the auction house? Because in like more traditional MMOs, obviously, if somebody has like the super high level gear, you can see them out in the world like cracking skulls and taking names and looking awesome. But when you're going through your single player experience in Diablo, I mean, you don't miss what you don't know. So are you worried about that at all?
Not at all, because again, we're not really trying to incentivize people to do the auction house. What we're trying to do is provide a gameplay system that's there for the people that already kind of want to participate in it, and make it that it's really easy to use. So people that want to try it out, has a low barrier to entry and it's easy for people to try. But, I don't really want us to be in the land of, let's try to find a way to get everyone to use it. It's not like that at all.
So, if Blizzard were going to do a console version of Diablo 3, is there any chance we could also see this auction house appearing on those platforms as well?
Well, I think what we'd look to do is, if we decide to do a console version, we'd want to try to put the auction house into the same version of the game. It's just kind of too early to tell. I think there's lots of it depends that happens then. It's how does the console game work? How does that work with whichever console manufacturer we worked with? So our intent would be to do it, but I can't tell you for sure.
All right, Rob, well, I think that's all I've got for you. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk with us.
Absolutely. I had a great time, so I hope you guys had fun playing the game.
All right, thank you so much. So there you go, folks, a look at the economics of Diablo 3.